Hi everybody, and good evening, and welcome to the last one in this wonderful series of Type 1 Connects webinars. And we'll just let some people start to join us. We thought we'd get ahead of the technical issues that we sometimes have when we start to broadcast by broadcasting a minute early. So you get an extra minute of us this week. My name is Renza Scibilia, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be hosting this event. And I'm joined by, well, there are four of us tonight. There are lots of us, and what a stellar cast of guests that I have. So we are joined again wonderfully by Cheryl Steele, diabetes educator, credentialed diabetes educator extraordinaire, pump guru, wonderful, wonderful woman, and we are thrilled to have her back. We have James Mayjor, who is the general manager of YpsoMed Australia. Welcome, James. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Renza. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Thanks for having us. This is your gig. And we are also thrilled, probably most excited to have Matt Beattie online. Matt is actually an YpsoPump user, and we're talking all about the YpsoPump tonight. Matt, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thrilled, absolutely thrilled. So we'll just let some people join, and as that happens, I will just do our usual disclaimers that, of course, these events are not intended to be used as medical advice, even though we do have the wonderful Cheryl Steele with us. Always speak with your own diabetes healthcare team about any devices or any diabetes management issues. But we do, tonight we are actually talking specifically about the YpsoMed pumps. So you're going to hear all about this particular pump and its features, and is it the right pump for you? So we are being joined by people. It's great to see that people are joining us. Now, this is the final one of these events. This is number 6, and we've had a really fun series, and we'll talk about how you can go back and watch some of those later on. If, we'll have time to have a quick chat about that later on. So if you've missed them or you want to recap, you can absolutely do that, because they're all on YouTube. And we've had somebody say that we need a series 2. So there we go. We need series 2 of these. So thank you. Now, please, the way that these events work the best is when we have great interaction from the people who are watching at home. Use the chat function, and you can chat amongst yourselves or ask questions, and we will come to those questions at some point during the presentation if we can. And also, if you would like to chat with everybody, you need to make sure that you're sending it to all panelists and attendees, not just to the panelists, because otherwise it's just us who gets to see all your very clever comments and questions. All right, I think we're just about ready to go. All right, now, just a very quick technical question, comment. Technology is great when it works. We are using Zoom, and I think I've spent probably about 90% of my time in a Zoom room for the last 20 weeks or so. If anybody's Wi-Fi is a little bit dodgy, we will turn off our cameras and you'll just see our names. But hopefully, we won't need to do that today. But okay, let's get started. We've got lots of people who have joined us now. We've got some lovely people having great chats. Hi to everybody. And let's get going. Okay, so this chat actually is great because it's kind of following on from some of the previous chats that we had. Our last session, Cheryl spoke all about insulin pump technology, what it was, how it works. We answered lots of questions. We dispelled so many myths. But tonight we're speaking specifically about the YpsoMed pump, or the YpsoPump, I should say. So James, I'm going to hand it over to you. You're the general manager of YpsoMed and YpsoPump in Australia. How long has this pump been available in Australia? Yeah, how long have we had it here?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Thanks, Renza. So we're relatively new in Australia. We launched YpsoPump 2 years ago, or just over 2 years ago, May 2018. So it's pretty new in Australia, and I think Australia-wide, YpsoMed's probably not that well known. But I would say that YpsoMed have been involved in pump therapy for a really long time. We're a global company. We're based in Switzerland, in Europe. And about 40 years ago, believe it or not, YpsoMed was one of the first companies that were pioneering the therapy. I think we were doing it at about the same time as a company called MiniMed, and they were doing it in the States. So we were both companies were doing it at about the same time. And so, yeah, Ypsomed, the company, has got a tremendous amount of experience in pump therapy, even though that we're kind of new in Australia, only 2 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you have a really huge profile in Europe. I know that when I've been attending conferences in Europe, a lot of the diabetes advocates that I get to speak with have been using YpsoPumps for quite some time. And I know before it was available in Australia, I was absolutely thrilled to get my hands on it just to see what was this. It looked really different. It was a really different pump to what we had available here. So I think it's, you know, choice is always good. So show us the pump. You've got one there, I imagine. Can you show us?
I have.
And talk us through it. I'm
Here
going to be quiet. You talk about it.
Can everyone see it? There it is there. That's the pump. I think the first thing that everyone notices about this pump is it's tiny. I think most of our users, one piece of feedback they give us is it's so small and so light. And that's one of the big features for the pump, and something that we've been trying to, you know, make different is size really matters, especially, I mean, you guys know much more than I would, but wearing a pump all the time, its weight and its size is really important. So we're trying to keep the thing small. It works pretty simply. I won't take you through all the details, but it's like a mobile phone. So you have a little home button at the side there, which turns it on. You can see it's there's no other buttons. It's all touch screen and icon based. So it makes it super easy to use, which is the other thing that we're really trying to do, is just keep it simple and keep it easy for people to use on a daily basis. We've got a whole bunch of different sets and all the rest of it. A nice little feature that's different to other pumps is our little glass reservoir. I don't know whether you can see it there. What's different about it is, as I said, it's glass. And what that means is that you get longer stability, insulin stability. A lot of patients who are using this once a month, they just fill up 10 or so vials, depending on how many insulin they take, and they put them in the fridge, and that insulin's stable there for a month in the fridge, so they can just, when they run out of insulin in the pump, they can just grab a new reservoir, throw it into the pump, and off they go, basically, with a little prime. So that's the pump itself. I guess the only other thing that I'd share just very briefly with everyone, the other thing that's unique about it is we have an app on your mobile phone. You probably can't see that. I'm sorry. The glare is really bad. Apologies. What's unique about the app? A couple of things. The app, you can do a lot of the functions that is very typical, like bolus calculations, for example, on your app. And in fact, the app is like the backbone of our portfolio. All the smarts, all the technology we try and keep in the app. And the app communicates with the pump via Bluetooth. And the idea with the app is that, you know, in Australia, it's basically a 4-year decision, right? When you're deciding on a pump, because most of your health insurance companies, you know, only allow you to buy a pump once every 4 years. And the big problem with that, of course, is that that's Siri going off in the background. I'm sorry. The big problem with that, of course, is that you know, it's you know, if you buy a pump one day and then a month later a new set of features come out, you know, it's a pretty, you know, bummy decision, right? You've got to wait for another 4 years before you can upgrade to those new feature sets. So the idea with this app is that when we get new features or new capabilities in our portfolio, those features come to you as an automatic update with your app. And so, you know, if you get on this pump and we have extra features coming in a year's time or whatever, you just wake up one morning and those features are available to you just by downloading the update through your app store, basically. But anyway, so that's the kind of main features, I think, for the pump. But I reckon probably you guys don't want to talk to me that much about the pump. Maybe it's a much better idea maybe to listen to Matt, maybe from his experiences. I know, Matt, you've just gone through the whole process of trying to choose a pump. And I'd certainly be interested to hear your experiences of what you went through choosing your pump and how that panned out for you.
Certainly, thank you, James. There's really interesting stuff that you've been talking about, the YpsoPump, and there are many topics you talked about that are reasons why I chose Ypso. Earlier this year, I needed to start looking at what replacement pump I was going to use after the 4-year warranty ran out with the private medical insurance. And because there's so much discussion and hype and availability of pumps on the market, I figured the only way to really get to the truth of the matter from my situation is go and have a look at all the pumps, try them, and see which one fits my lifestyle and my needs best. So I did that earlier this year in February. And what stood out for me with the YpsoPump, and I have it here, is its size. That was one of one of 5 fundamentals that I look for in a pump is its size. That is because I'm always looking for a pump that's discreet to use. Living with type 1 diabetes, and I've done that for 4 decades now, discretion is really important to me. And of the pumps on the Australian market, it's the Ypso that offers discretion. The second factor is its ease of use. The touch screen, the simpleness of the menu allows you to take bolus insulin or adjust the basal very easily and quickly. A third reason is the pump is free of disruption. What I found using other pumps is there are so many bells and whistles and alarms, and that they require so much attention that it becomes very disruptive. And this is something that the YpsoPump was able to not have in its technology. A fourth reason is local customer support and service. Having strong support for the pump that you use is really important, especially if you find that you're in a situation where you don't know what to do. You need to be able to get customer support. So I checked all this out with Ypso. And the last, or the fifth reason why I went with the pump is its integration with a mobile phone. So the ability to have features on the pump updated without having to change the pump itself.
Oh, we seem to, Matt, I'm going to get you to turn your camera off maybe. Let's just try that because you've just dropped out. But because we all want to know hear the rest of that 5th reason. But while we're seeing if you come back online, James, we've got some questions. I might just throw to you while we're just waiting for Matt to see if he comes back on. So question, a couple of things. Now, somebody wants to know if do you need to pay for the app for any app upgrade, or or are they free?
Yeah, no, look, the app's completely free.
Right.
So, and all the upgrades come free of charge. I forgot to mention too, the app is also, you can also use the app in MDI mode. So you don't actually have to be on an insulin pump. You can use the app and using normal MDI therapy as well, and it's free for those patients as well.
Great. And somebody asked about batteries. What sort of battery does it take?
AAA. It's AAA. Okay. And one of the services we provide is we provide free batteries and also battery recycling as well.
Wonderful.
So all you need to do is ring our 1-800 number up for our pump patients, and we'll support you with your batteries and the recycling of them.
Yep, great. Now, look, if everybody I just want to say, do keep an eye on the chat, because we had somebody in the chat who has been using an Ypsomed as well, and we've lost Matt, but hopefully he will join us really soon. But I think that, okay, so, and somebody did also ask if you can bolus from the phone.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So at the moment, no, you can't. But very shortly, early next year, round about March, April period, there will be another free upgrade to the app. And in that next upgrade, you'll be able to bolus directly from the app. So you don't have to take your pump out of your pocket at all, basically, to operate it.
Wonderful. Welcome back, Matt. You're on mute, so you will need to turn your mic on, but we want to hear a little bit more about perhaps that fifth reason when you're back.
Okay.
Great. So tell us about that fifth reason. Oh, we're not having any luck.
Technology.
Matt, yeah, turn your camera off, Matt. We would love to see your face, but let's see if that helps. And one other question just quickly, is there a watch app? A smartwatch app, James?
Not at the moment, no, not at the moment.
All right, good. All right, let's go to Cheryl.
The fifth one is the integration with the mobile phone.
Okay, good. All right, and we've just been chatting a little bit about that, so that's all good. Cheryl, let's go to you for a minute. How are you,
hopefully
Cheryl?
my broadband will work. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so tell us, we've got some questions for you. So you're using, you offer for people who are interested in the YpsoPump, sorry, they can access it through you. What are people really interested in when they come to talk to you about it?
I think most people come either they've never had a pump before and they're really interested in, swapping from MDI to a pump. So they want something that's simple to use, that's tiny, discreet, waterproof. So if they want to go swimming, they don't have to disconnect it. And the fact that it's got a nice clear screen, easy to see, the infusion set, which no other pump offers, the tubing's blue. So if you've got a little bit of retinopathy or a little bit of trouble seeing air bubbles in the line, it's really, really easy to see. I think they're some of the things that attract people to the Ypso over another pump. And I think the glass syringes, that if you say, look, you can fill up your reservoirs at the beginning of the month and just grab one out, so it's not such a big deal doing a line change before you run out to go to work, or when your child gets home from school and you find they've ripped the line out on the way home, or something tragic like that, which children do because they can. And I think the other nice thing for people who are thinking about how will I go with the pump, how's my carb counting, how all that work, is download the app first, because it is free, set it up in MDI mode and practice the carb counting, practice all that sort of stuff so that you've built up some confidence before you start on the pump. No other pump lets you do that, and Ypso will allow trials. So I've had quite a few people who've started off just trialing for a month or so to see how they cope with pump therapy before they make the commitment, and they go on and purchase their own pump. And at the moment, it's very difficult to organise that with any of the other pump companies.
Absolutely. James, we do have a question about integration with CGM. And I know there was an announcement made earlier this year about that. So could you just, I think we're probably going to get quite a few questions on it. So let's just get this out of the way now. Talk to us about what CGM integration is, what's coming, what it's looking like. What have people got to look forward to around that?
Sure. I mean, look, part of our Ypsomed's philosophy is to partner and work with as many different companies as we can. The philosophy is that we want to connect our app with lots of different people to try and give patients more choice, and try and, just allow people to choose the different types of diabetes technology that they prefer to use for whatever reason. So we're really happy to announce just recently our next collaboration, and that's with Dexcom. And with our collaboration with Dexcom, we get a couple of things. So the first thing we get is to integrate our app directly with the G6, the Dexcom G6 sensor, which is super exciting. And so when that's going to be available in Australia around about November, so just a few months away. And basically how it will work is patients will wake up one morning in November and be able to just download the upgrade and the app will look completely different towards what it looks now. You'll be able to get all the features that that you used to using Dexcom sensors, but directly on our app. So you'll get the trace, you'll get all the alarms, you'll get the ability to set the sensor up, everything you need basically that you're used to through that collaboration, which is great news. So that's around about November this year. The next piece to that Dexcom collaboration is our pathway to Ypsomed's loop system. So we will get access to Dexcom's automated insulin delivery algorithm, and that will also come as a free upgrade via the app. And so for those patients who want to use this type of therapy option, and it's agreed with the patient's healthcare professionals, they'll have that option also with this Dexcom collaboration.
I love hearing about what that pipeline looks like. It does really, it is so exciting. So I know that we've got people commenting and saying, when's this happening? We want dates, and that is always really hard. But I think this is a really very, very thoughtful comment from Frank, who is an absolute champ in the diabetes advocacy space. And he says, it is more of a comment than a question. He says that we're often promised the world when it comes to updatable diabetes tech from all players in this space, but the reality is that we end up spending quite a lot of time waiting for it. And I know that often is something that's frustrating, but it does certainly sound like there are things coming, and they're coming soon-ish.
Yeah, look, it's really hard from our perspective. I mean, since we've launched, I think we've had 4 or 5 updates that's come through the app. Some of them minor updates, some of them bigger. And it's really hard to precisely pick exactly when those updates are coming. I expected I was going to get these questions during this discussion. Yes. So I was on the phone to our global guys just prior to this meeting, and they've kind of reassured me that at this stage for Australia, the CGM Assist update, the first one, is around about November. And the next update, which is that dosing update, is about March, April next year.
Wonderful. Okay. So can I just suggest, I know that James did hold up a pump, and Matt was showing us his pump, but if you want to get a better look, because it's a bit hard sometimes to see, is to go, Tanya has shared the website that you can go to, but she might share that again in case anybody's missed it. And the app, it's the mylife app, right? That's what it's called. If you go to the App Store, and it's Android, it's iOS, it's everywhere. Is that right? Yep. No, yes, it is good.
Yeah, right. It's both wonderful. Android and Apple. Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. Okay, so let's park all those questions about when is everything coming, because we can't tell you anything more. There is nothing more that we can tell you, so you can ask all you want.
I know.
That's all that James knows, nothing more. So we cannot go any further than there. Cheryl, I might ask you a couple of questions now.
Of course.
And I know that Matt, who we have lost again, unfortunately, his internet seems to be very unstable, and somebody did comment on good old Aussie internet, indeed. But he also commented a little bit on customer service and how he's found that. But as a diabetes educator who is often, this is often a question that people have, and, let's pretend James isn't there. We can say whatever we want. So, how have you personally found...
I can go away if you want.
No, that's all right. James doesn't scare me. I've found the after-sales service excellent, but also the pre-sale service, like particularly in times of COVID, where I might not be able to have a face-to-face meeting with somebody, and I feel like maybe I haven't had enough time in my consultation to share everything I wanted to. I can contact the rep and say, could you make contact with this patient, and can you get all the paperwork sorted out for me, and then I just have to sign the clinical letters and things. Very, very helpful. And then after sales service, excellent. The patient can ring the helpline, and it's in Australia, so the person who answers you speaks English, understands Australian, because we speak Australian, we don't necessarily speak English. So sometimes overseas call centres don't exactly understand what we're talking about. So that's very, very reassuring.
Yes, our Australianisms frequently get me into trouble when I am speaking with
Me too.
English-speaking friends from other countries. I'm
I
terrible.
speak very Australian.
Yes, several times. Now, Tanya, I don't know if you can send me a message to know if we've got Matt joining us, but in the meantime, somebody's just written spiders, and we're not going to talk about spiders because it's going to slightly creep me out. But okay, so Cheryl, what's the feedback that you have from people who are actually using the pump? So we've heard about the size, people love that. The waterproof feature obviously is really terrific as well. I've got to say, when I first saw it, it definitely was the size, because at the time, what was available in Australia, and this is before Ypsomed even had been launched here, but what we had here, they were bricks, and they weren't things that were necessarily being updated. I know that we've moved on a little bit, and we do certainly have some newer things, but what sort, the size is really a huge feature, but what else do people seem to really love about it?
I think the fact that on the phone, you've got your app, and people are often, even though it's not integrated yet, are running Libre on their phone, or they're running Dexcom or some sort of CGM on their phone. And it's so easy just to look at that reading and then open up the Ypso app, or the mylife app, and you just add in your glucose level, add in your carbs, you get your dose. And there's two different ways you can handle the insulin on board with the app, depending on how you set it up with your diabetes educator or your support person. And then you just get the pump out. I call it the Tinder pump, because you either swipe left, swipe right, depending on what you want to do. And you just enter in the dose. So, I mean, what's easier than that? Just 1, 2, 3 swipe. And, if you don't like them, you swipe the other way, I guess. But it's just, I think that simplicity, and the fact that you can download the app and practice a bit first before you go onto the pump. And when you first get your pump, you get a whole month's worth of supplies with it. That doesn't happen with any other pump at all. So you can get a chance to try out different infusion sets. If maybe one doesn't suit, there's an alternative. So lots and lots of service, lots and lots of choices for people. And the fact that if you want to have a holiday from your pump for whatever reason, you can still keep using the app, just swap it to MDI mode.
Fabulous. Now we're going to come back and talk about infusion sets, but we've got Matt back. We're going to just keep the video off. Matt, can you hear us? Hi.
Yes,
wonderful.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Good. I have a question for you. What do you like most? Now, firstly, how long have you been using your YpsoPump now?
I've been using the YpsoPump since April.
Okay. And what do you like best about it?
I really like it's free of disruption.
Yep.
That's the biggest selling point for me with the pump. Yeah. And second to that is its size and the fact that it's such a discreet pump to wear on your body.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So tucks neatly into a pocket and feels quite comfortable there. And I know that I've tried this, and I always wear my pumps down my bra, and it was very comfortable there. And I know that people, size does seem to be the thing that people are very, that they do comment on. And Matt, what's the biggest change? You don't need to tell us what you were using before, so that wasn't the question I was going to ask. But what is the biggest difference? You said that it's ease of use and that it's just unobtrusive and that sort of stuff. How does that? What do you mean? Can you explain that a little bit more, maybe?
Yes, certainly. Compared with the other current pumps on the market, the Ypso stood out for me after I gave all the pumps a trial period. Is the fact that when you go to use everyday functions like taking a bolus of insulin or adjusting your basal rate, it was quick, simple, and very easy to do on the Ypso. And again, that is all part of its free of disruption. If a pump has many, many menus that you have to navigate just to take a bolus of insulin, that's tedious. And living with type 1 diabetes is already a full-time job. And when the technology makes it harder, it can increase levels of an anxiety or burnout or frustration. And so using the Ypso, it was free of frustration, which I love about it.
Yep, absolutely. Is there anything that you don't love about it? And again, James has got his fingers in his ears, so he can't hear you.
if I could get a message to the designers of Ipso, perhaps if there were two options for insulin speed delivery for boluses. So if there was a fast setting and also a slow setting. And the reason I suggest that is those of us who have lived with type 1 for many years, something that's unavoidable is scar tissue underneath the skin where your infusion sites are. And in my own personal experience, I found that delivery speed of boluses can be affected by scar tissue. Now, this is just something that I've noticed while using pumps over 20 years. And if the Ipso had a setting for two different speeds, fast and slow, that would be a wonderful feature to have.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
really
good feedback. Good
yeah,
feedback.
Absolutely. Now, I've got a question about infusion sets. Is there likely to be more choice available? Frank says that the 90-degree sets don't work for him. So what is his option? Does he have any options? Who wants to take
Frank, good question. Thank you. Yeah, look, so we're just about to introduce a new set. It's the Unomical inset set. It's just recently received approval from the TGA in Australia, and so we're going through the process of getting that reimbursed through the NDSS. The reason why we did it is, from feedback from patients, they've used this set from Medical, the inset set, for many years, and they're used to it. And it's a very common set. Why do they have to change sets when they change pumps? So I guess, that was one of the driving forces to do that. At the moment, it's just 90 degrees, unfortunately, Frank. I apologise. I am trying also to bring the angled set in. We'll see how I go, but at the moment it's just the 90 degrees. But it's work in progress, Frank.
Yeah, he does say that he says that, James, that you're probably sick of Frank asking you this by now, but that's okay, Frank. We do keep asking.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not sick of it.
And we do. And he also says thank you. I think that it's really important that we do make it known, I guess, to distributors and to companies about what's great, what's working, but also what sort of things would make us want to use something a little bit more, what would make it easier or something like that. So I think that
sure.
It's great that you're being so open to these. Now, Matt, I've got a question for you. I don't know if you can ask if this is something that you might be able to answer, but are there any features that you would think are pretty underrated? So perhaps things that aren't in all the glossy brochures that people don't keep talking about, but it's something that you've really found that that surprised you and that you really like? It's a tricky one.
It's a very good question. I'm just gathering my thoughts and thinking about my experiences when I went to market to find the right pump for me. I would have to say it's the touch screen slide menu. It's very unique. It's unlike any of the other pumps available in Australia. And when I first started using the pump, I was unsure about whether this was a feature that would be, conducive to my sensibilities of using a pump. And it turns out that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's terrific. Now I have another question. We've got some other questions that are coming in here, but Cheryl, I wanted to ask you, or actually no, Cheryl or James, I'm in the market for a new pump and I'm not sure yet what I want and I'm looking at everything. How do I get to try? Can I try one of these? Can I get one of these in my hand? How does that work? Who wants to shake that?
From my point of view, if you're attending my clinic, I have one of every pump that's available to show people. They're demo pumps. If somebody wants to trial one, then I would have to reach out to the rep to see if they would make one available. Ypso is always very easy to be able to organise a trial for somebody. one of the other companies doesn't trial at all, and one of the others will trial, but there's a long waiting list and only for a very short space of time. And then the fourth alternative won't trial anything at the moment because they figure with COVID they don't want to have things going out and back. So all different rules, but by all means, I think if you're not sure, ask about trying it first to see if it's actually going to suit you. And I think, as Matt pointed out, one of the big things is lowering the burden of living with diabetes. I think if the pump doesn't lower your burden, then it's not really helping you manage your diabetes.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we've got some quite techie questions here. So let's start with this one. How many basal profiles can be loaded into the pump at once?
2.
2, wonderful. And
two complete profiles, but a different rate every hour, just in case.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, yes, absolutely. And are temporary basals possible?
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I'm assuming so. And if so, what's the maximum temp basal? So do you want to explain, let's explain what that is, just in case there's anyone here who doesn't actually understand what we're talking about here. Cheryl, what's a temp basal, and how does it work on the YpsoPump?
So a temporary basal rate is where you overlay your normal basal rate. So say your normal basal rate at this time of the day was 0.5 of a unit. If you were feeling unwell and you thought you needed more insulin, instead of changing the whole profile or just giving a bolus that's not going to work over time, you can actually set a temporary basal rate up to, and James can correct me if I'm wrong, but up to 200% of your normal basal rate.
That's correct.
For whatever period of time you might think necessary. The other way a temporary basal rate can work is if you're going out to play a game of squash tonight and you decide you want less insulin so you're not going to hypo during your squash game, you can actually say to the pump, well, I only want 50% of my normal basal that I would have so that I'm not going to hypo during my activity. So basals and temporary basals are really valuable tools to help you manage the day-to-day activities and those types of things.
Okay, wonderful. I'll just let everyone know that we have under 10 minutes left. So if you've got questions, please do fire them at us. These sessions absolutely fly by. And Cheryl, beforehand, we were talking about you having groupies. Somebody has said that they love going to see you, Cheryl. So, you know,
wow.
there's a reason that so many of us do refer
Have they left an address for me to send the check?
Yeah, that's right. But there's a reason that so many of us call you Auntie Cheryl. It's because, you know, it's like visiting family. So Andy just wants some clarification here. So is that 200% on top of your normal or double your normal basal?
Double your normal. So 200% of your normal rate.
Okay, so hopefully that's clear. But these are the sorts of questions that, you know, when you're ready to start, you know, pumps talk about this sort of stuff quite differently. So, in the way that they work. So this is one of those questions that when you're actually ready to go and choose a pump that you can ask these sorts of questions. Now we have a question here that's with the Dexcom integration that's coming out later this year, will we need to have the latest phone for it to be compatible? And as he says, the mylife app works now on his phone, but he's looking to get the pump soon. So James, could you perhaps answer that?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. One of the tricky things with mobile phones, there's so many different types available and so many different versions of operating systems. It just becomes a real tricky scenario. With the new Dexcom integration, the phones will be limited somewhat, or smaller number of phones available in line with what Dexcom's currently compatible with. So if you want the details on exactly which phones and what have you, just feel free to give us a call on 800 447 042 and we can give you the details. But yeah, it is changing just to be in line with Dexcom.
Okay, and we will share that number in the chat later on so that we can.
And often, Renza, Dexcom isn't compatible with the very latest phones. There's always a bit of a lag with when the brand new phone comes out for them to catch up. So often, if you've got a slightly older phone, it's actually better.
Yep. Wonderful. Okay, now we have a question here. So somebody's actually said, can they ask Cheryl a question at the end? We need you to, we can't, we sort of, this ends and then we all disappear. So
ask me anonymously. I won't know your name.
if you put it in the Q&A, then no one will see. But also the person who's asked that question, you've only asked it to the panelists. So it's only the 4 of us that can see it. So if you'd like to ask. But now just a bit of, clarification here, which I think is really useful while we're talking about this. Does the YpsoPump work similarly to other pumps? And the reason that for this question I'm asking because another pump on the brand works on the that's available works very differently, and that's causing some problems as the bolus delivery and insulin delivery is a lot slower. So I think perhaps this was the comment that Matt was making earlier about, can you talk to us about what's that bolus delivery like? Matt was saying he would like it if there were different speeds for that. What's it like with the YpsoPump?
It's kind of a tricky one for me to answer because I'm not so familiar with all the other options. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know, Cheryl, whether you understand this one better.
It would be on a par with the Medtronic standard bolus. So not their quick bolus option, but a standard bolus. So it doesn't race in very fast, which some people find quite painful. But some people do find delivery a bit frustrating, but it has all the same bolus options as the other pumps, like a normal bolus where you get all the insulin at once, a square wave where you can spread it out, or the combination where you can have some now, some over time. So all those options are available, but the actual speed, that would be my, Matt might know if he's used both. You know, if he's had a Medtronic pump, but I would compare it with about the standard speed of a Medtronic.
Yeah, Matt, do you want to talk a bit to that? How would you describe it?
I find that the bolus delivery speed with the YpsoPump is quite rapid compared to the previous pump that I've been using, and that was a noticeable difference for me when I started using the YpsoPump. It's no drama for me. It works just fine.
Yep.
But I've always thought that if pumps had the options to have an adjustable delivery speed for bolus insulin, it would be a fantastic feature.
Yep, absolutely. Now, Matt, another question for you. So James earlier on, and I'm not sure if it was when you were on the line, but he was talking about all the features that are coming. So obviously there's the Dexcom integration that's coming, but he was also talking about being able to bolus from the phone when that is available, and also being able to loop. How do you feel about all of these things that are coming? And was this part of your decision-making process when you were looking at getting the pump?
Oh, absolutely. So the most exciting up and coming feature that I'm looking forward to is the ability to bolus from your mobile phone.
Yeah.
Again, talking about discretion, living with type 1 diabetes, I don't wish to put my condition on display. When I was a much younger guy and I first started pumping in the year 2000, it was a real novelty for me and the age that I was to be using wearable technology because no one else was. But these days, 20 years on, I don't wish to make a fuss of living with type 1 or be to expose it to others who don't know me that well. So the ability to bolus from a phone is a feature that I'm really looking forward to.
Yep, absolutely. Wonderful. I totally get that. I completely get that. And Cheryl, what about for you as a diabetes educator? I know that, you are obviously very much at the cutting edge of what's available and what people can use. How do you feel when you're hearing about commercial systems like this that are going to be available that have these sorts of features available to people?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, and it's good that you start off fairly simple, get your confidence up, and then with the integration with Dexcom, and we know in Australia not everybody can afford CGM, so but if you can, that's a great thing that it's going to integrate, and then later on being able to go to a commercially available closed loop is a great option. Not everybody wants to sit and do it yourself looping, and to know the feedback I've had with the Dexcom Loop app is a pretty good one, you know, out of the commercial ones that are available. It would probably be one of the best. So I think the fact that, you know, you make your one claim every 4 years or every 5 years with some private health insurance, and you know that you can still upgrade the technology, you're not going to get left behind. It's a great thing.
I totally agree. Okay, look, we have got a minute left, so we're going to do a quick whip around with closing comments. Matt, I'm going to start with you. What would you say to somebody who is considering using an YpsoPump? What would your words of advice to them be?
If you're considering the YpsoPump, organise a trial to use the pump for a period of time to really find out if it's a device for you to be using. If you're in Queensland, get in touch with Shannon, who's the clinical specialist here, and I'm sure she'll take care of your requirements when it comes to the YpsoPump.
And I think it's so great that we've had you here and hearing your story. I always think, and I think I've said this the last 2 weeks when we've been to 2 events, I should say, when we've been talking about this sort of stuff, being able to speak with people who are actually using this, you will get a very different perspective from what, you know, you will hear from, you know, a diabetes educator or another clinician, or from the company, the pump company and the shiny brochures. Here, you know, what it's really like. So thanks so much, Matt, for sharing your story. Cheryl, what would your parting words be, Cheryl?
I would say make sure you look at everything that's available, that you choose the one that's going to best suit your needs, not what somebody else tells you is going to suit your needs.
Yep, absolutely. And Tanya, if you just want to really quickly, before I throw to James for his closing comments, Tanya, if you just want to put in the YouTube details so that people can go back and watch this one again once it's uploaded, and also any of the other sessions. But James, good, Matt, we can see you there. Lovely. But James, what are your final comments for people?
Well, I've got a few, but just to echo both Matt and Cheryl's comments, from Ypsomed's side, we think it's really important that people get a chance to have a play and have a trial and work out whether it really suits them. So it's no problems from our side at all. And if you're, looking to work out how to organise a trial and get one started, of course, as Cheryl said, go straight to your healthcare professional. That's definitely the first stop. But if you have trouble, feel free to give us a call directly, and we'll try and connect the dots for you and get it all organised for you. So, as I said, it's no problem from our side.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, James. Well, I feel like I should say thank you, ball boys.
Thanks,
thank you,
Renza.
Lyman. In the background. Now, I also wanted to say thank you so much to Ypsomed for putting on this series. This is the final one of these that we started back, I think it was back in, I don't know, April, May, months ago. But they have been absolutely wonderful. And thank you so, so much. There is a 1-800 number that you can call. It's 1-800-447-042, or you can email info@ypsomed.com. But all the information is available there, so do follow up. Thank you to everybody. We're going to end the broadcast now, but you will be able to watch these. They're available on YouTube. So if you keep an eye on the My Life Diabetes Care Facebook page, there are links to where you can go to see them. So thank you very, very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.